Hi, welcome to the next episode. In this episode, we are going to see the effect of sweets, Indian sweets and donuts, and also an Indian snack. Very interesting findings have been found. So we will go ahead with the show. A lot of people have been writing to me to say they are not getting notifications. I just wanted to clarify that notifications will not come as an email. As long as you have clicked on the subscribe button and the bell button when you are watching the show.
When you go to the YouTube screen, this is my YouTube screen, here you will see this bell button. So this bell button shows here 7, number 7 with a red around with a red thing. So this means that I have got 7 notifications. See, when I go on it, it says notification. So I've got 7. So if you have subscribed to my channel, and I have posted a new video, you will see this bell button and a number there. And so that is how notifications come to you.
Okay, so now let's go to today's show.
Here we are having tea, milk tea with Splenda and boiled peanuts. So I started off usually around 4, 3:34, and you see the sugar is coming down and it reached minus 21, 29. It reached minus 29 by 5 o'clock and then started rising slowly to about minus 18 and then again started to drop. And by the time my dinner time, which is usually around 7, 7:30, it had again dropped to a minus 42 from my baseline where I started before the tea time. So this was the best result I got out of tea time snacks. And this is something that I have noticed again and again. Whenever I have peanuts, my sugar actually stays flat or drops. So this is a very good snack. Boiled peanuts, so it doesn't have oil or anything. The next day, I had baked peanuts along with my regular tea, and this baked peanuts, we bake it ourselves by buying the raw shelled peanuts and adding some spices and salt and a little bit of flour, rice flour, and also sometimes chickpeas flour. So again, as usual, my I had my tea around 3:34, and my sugar started dropping and reached around minus 20s, 27, around 5 o'clock, and then kind of stayed there for an hour, and then started going up. And by my dinner time, it had come up to minus 11 from zero. So, still compared to the boiled peanuts we had the previous day, the baked peanuts, which is crunchy as a snack, also drops the sugar, or you can say it stays flat. So, this is a very good snack to take. This day, along with my tea, I had an Indian sweet called Srikhand, It was homemade. As I said earlier in one of the earlier episodes, as long as things are not bought from the store packaged, which have a lot of preservatives, homemade stuff are generally much better. Now, Shrikant is made with thickened yogurt and a little bit of fruits and sugar, and this gave me a very surprising result. I thought my sugar would shoot up, but see how the sugar behaved. It actually started dropping from my baseline after I've had the tea, and this was really 2 spoons of the Srikhand. So the sugar started coming down and reached a minimum of 34 points below my baseline by about 6 o'clock, and then started rising slowly. And by dinner time, I was around 20 points below my starting point. So, this is a big lesson for me that portion control, with portion control, you can have anything. So, moderation is the mantra here. So, this was a very surprising result for me. This was another surprising result for me. The day I had my regular tea with another Indian sweet called burfi, a very small portion, probably about 1.5 inch square. This is made with milk and sprinkled with some nuts with very little sugar in it. So my sugar level stayed pretty much flat and actually dropped a little bit by 6 o'clock. It had come down to 18 points below, then stayed flat for about half an hour, and then went up and reached my baseline. And right after my dinner, it started going up a little bit. So, this is probably the effect of my dinner that day. So, this was another surprising result that, contrary to normal beliefs, the sugar doesn't go up if you keep anything in moderation. That is the biggest lesson out of this. The next day, I had another Indian favorite called Rasagulla. Again, this is made out of milk, and actually, it is soaked in sugar syrup, but I had removed the sugar syrup, of course, and had it along with my tea. And this was a little, the results were a little perplexing in that the sugar actually started dropping during the first 2 hours to 37 points below, and then it started shooting up sharply and went to 22 points above my baseline. So that's almost a 59-point rise within half an hour. But then it started dropping, and by the time I had my dinner, I had come back to my baseline. So, this is another surprising result, that portion control. The biggest lesson here is portion control of anything should not affect our sugar that much. Now starts the villains in this episode. I said, let me try donuts. They used to be one of my favorite snacks, which I had stopped. And I think after the study, it's rightly so. So I bought four donuts, different varieties, and I'll show you the results in this episode. So the first day I had a plain donut. They call it old-fashioned donuts with tea, with no glazings and stuff. And my sugar initially started going down to about 18, 19 points below for about an hour and a half, by about 5 o'clock, and then started rising pretty steep to about 51 within an hour. So that's almost a 70-point rise within an hour. And then watch the sugar, it stays there in my body for another hour before it started dropping slightly. And by dinner time, I was about 30 points above my baseline. So, the big lesson for me in this is carbs. We all know donuts are fried stuff, and this one has a little less sugar because it has no glazings. But it's the carbs that is really not good. It's bad for diabetes. Earlier, when we had the sweets, a small sweet, uh, it had stayed pretty much flat. But look here, the amount of period for on in which the sugar is in our body. So, as part of the study, I did really indulge in things that I shouldn't. And the next day, you see, I had here a donut that was filled with chocolate and dusted with a little bit of sugar along with my tea. And my sugar almost remained flat for almost 1.5, 2 hours till about 6 o'clock. And this is what we have noticed is whenever we have carbs, fried stuff, it stays in the body for a while and then the sugar starts shooting up. And in 1 hour, from around minus 12, 11, 12, it went up to 55. So that's a rise of about 67 points within an hour. And then it stayed there in the body until my dinner time. It dropped slightly to about 40 points. So definitely this is not good for us, just a tea time snack. And of course, I would be avoiding this. Next, I had another of my old favorites, which was a cream filled donut topped with chocolate. I think they call it chocolate glazed and cream filled. And my sugar initially started dropping. Maybe it was because of my earlier food. And then it had reached around minus 34 from my base level in about an hour. And then it started rising over the next hour, hour and a half to a high of 57. So 30 here to 57 is almost 87, 90 point rise within an hour. And then it kind of seesawed a little bit. It went down and again started rising to about 50 points finally around my dinner time. So, maybe the chocolate has some kind of an effect initially, but then the carb sets in and increases the sugar. So it definitely, this is something we should avoid as a snack. We all know that, but as part of the study, I said, let me record what really happens. The next day, I had one of the Indian favorite snacks called samosas. These are made out of a flour shell and filled with some vegetables, a lot of potatoes, and this is a spicy. It's a very favorite snacks of Indians. So my sugar stayed flat for about an hour and started rising steadily over the next hour, 2 hours, and by 7 o'clock I had reached a high of 63, and then it stayed in my body, reaching another 2 points above to 65 by my dinner time. So we know this fried items and potatoes, flour. Look at the amount of time the sugar is there in my body. This is what damages the diabetics. The amount of time the sugar is remains in the body. This was the final villain of our story, chocolate glazed donut. And after my sugar for about half an hour after having my snack, it remained flat and then started rising steeply over the next 1 hour and reached a maximum of 67 points. And from there, it was very interesting. It started dropping steadily and almost reaching my baseline by dinner time. So, the lesson in all this is different bodies would react differently to even the sweets and snacks. So, the only way to find out is to monitor your sugar with different foods and then see what affects you really bad and start avoiding it. So, here is a summary of all the different snacks I showed you in this show in order of the the villains, I guess. The peanuts were good. The sweets, Indian sweets, were not too bad. But once we started coming to the fried donuts with sugar and chocolate, that really did a job on our sugar level. And the Indian snack of samosa. So these are some things that I would avoid. The donuts, the plain donuts seem to be okay, but the other sugar kind of filled donuts, and fried samosas, or any fried snack like French fries. I know we are all fond of French fries. That is definitely, maybe in one of the future episodes, I will do a study on that.